third quarter financials, we are again showing that the Saskatchewan economy remains strong. We're going to continue to have a balanced budget, even though the surplus is small, but it continues to be a surplus. So as other provinces struggle, Saskatchewan continues to lead. We have had pressures. There's no question that there are challenges with maintaining a balanced budget, and we've been able to achieve a balanced budget through fiscal restraint, through expenses that have been carefully monitored, and with the fact that the province grows. We have been fortunate to obtain revenue from different sectors of the province, like taxation, with growth, and we've also been very fortunate to rely on the Crown corporations who have been able to have a great 2012 year, and thus we've been able to produce a balanced budget.
I think, don't want to presuppose criticism, but I think when we've had announcements like this in the past, there's been some suggestion that a balanced budget may not be terribly balanced if you're taking Crown profits to keep the books in line.
Well, the government of Saskatchewan for decades has always relied on dividends transfers from the Crowns. We indicated in our budget that we were going to have a regular dividend transfer of $150 million. And as a result of pressures on government and the fact that the Crowns have indeed had a very profitable year last year, we still stayed within the promise that we made, which was to ensure that we wouldn't utilize more than 90% of the dividends of all Crowns, excluding SaskPower. And we're still doing that. So it's been very fortunate in that respect, in that the Crowns have grown. Crowns have been very successful, I think, this year because of growth. We're seeing many more hookups in SaskPower and Sask Energy, and as a result, we've been fortunate to be able to rely on the Crowns. But governments have done that in the past.
Yeah, but at the beginning of when it was budget estimated, you were supposed to give $47 million to the GRF. So you're taking money from there instead of put money in there. Why?
Well, there's two situations that occur. We have an act that says when there is a surplus at the end of a fiscal year, we transfer half of the money to the Growth and Financial Security Fund. And as you can see this year, our planned surplus is not the $95 million that we intended. We have now a very small surplus of $8 million. So that is reflected in that the surplus isn't as big as we had projected in the spring budget. One of the changes that we made mid-year, actually it was post-mid-year, was to actually allocate additional dollars to highway construction. There was a lot of pressure across the province. People wanted to have projects move forward. So we made a decision, we meaning the government of the province of Saskatchewan, made a decision to utilize $50 million from the Growth Fund and actually move that money from the Growth Fund into the highways budget. And that's why you're seeing that number change from the budget.
So all that money went to the highway?
$50 million of a transfer from the Growth and Financial Security Fund went to highways, correct.
You said it's difficult to keep a balanced budget. I guess where does the line lie between having trouble balancing the budget and making accurate predictions on things like resource revenues?
Well, it's very difficult. I think, as we stated in the budget, it's pretty difficult to stay within a projection on volatile prices, whether they're potash or oil or Crown land sales, and you can see from the information that we provided to you that over the course of the year of this fiscal year, we have seen revenues decline by almost $600 million in non-renewable resources. That's pretty tough to be able to handle, and probably in the past that would have meant that we would have had a deficit budget. But this year in Saskatchewan, we're seeing growth. We're seeing growth in the area of corporate income tax. We're seeing growth in the area of personal income tax. And as a result of that, we've been able to offset a lot of that decline in revenue. And we still maintain a balance with a surplus. And I think you're going to see, as we have started to see the projections by other provinces, we may, again, be the only province with the balance and the surplus.
What's the impact on the Crowns from drawing down that amount of money? Does that affect their ability to fix infrastructure, or what is the impact?
Well, dividends for a Crown will move into the category of equity at the end. And the fact that we're relying on additional amount of profit that we didn't expect them to make in the spring, means that, the end result is we're still only utilizing up to 90% of the profits from the previous year, which is exactly what we said we would do. We said we would not take any of the dividend from SaskPower because SaskPower is expanding and needing to deal with its infrastructure, and we continue to maintain that.
Do you still have a surplus in your summary financial statements? I know there's a surplus in the GRF, but the
Yeah.
summaries you always say.
I'm sure the auditor asked you to ask that question. No, actually, based on the information, and the summaries are a bit different. The summaries, we include everything. The summaries are a collective grouping of the GRF, of the Crowns, of government not-for-profit or insurance organizations. As of today, I can say that the information that we have says we still have a balance with a surplus on the summary side as well. So for the fact that we have been asked to ensure that we focus more on the summaries by the auditor, I can say that we do both. The summaries, as of today, based on the information we have today, are balanced with a surplus as well.
But if
How
you're
much is the
focusing,
surplus?
Well, the surplus is very difficult to describe because you have to remember all of the summaries include every health region, every school board, the WCB, it includes Crown corporations. So all of those things at the moment in time today, the officials are indicating to me that it is a small surplus. As we move forward to get to March 31st, that may change. As you saw last year, we had a very significant depletion of revenues in the auto fund because there was a huge storm. Will that happen between now and March 31st? Well, if I knew that, I probably wouldn't be standing here because those are things that are unforeseeable. We did recognize that we had a change in the interest rate back at mid-year, for those of you who were here, and you recall that we had to adjust the summaries based on the fact that the interest rate was lower and our projected unfunded liability for the future was growing. We made that adjustment. It was about $308 million, and we still are projecting that we will have a summary on that basis.
so if you're committed to reporting summary as well as GRF, why isn't that information included today?
Our Financial Administration Act tells me to report the summaries at mid-year and at budget.
Jack
Which
Mintz
we do.
says that you should look at maybe tweaking the royalty structure for potash. Do you think maybe we could boost revenues if we did that?
Well, I think the minister responsible, Minister Boyd, responded to Professor Mintz's comments. We're very fortunate in Saskatchewan right now with over $12 billion worth of expansion in the key players that are currently here. We're seeing new players wanting to expand into the potash industry in Saskatchewan. So we're very fortunate. We achieve a great deal of money from the potash industry, and at the moment we're very pleased with the industry and the outcome that it has for government.
How do you think taxpayers view this kind of budget balancing when you're moving funds around? If it was your household, you wouldn't necessarily consider your accounts balanced if you, say, had to draw from your kid's college fund to make sure your mortgage payments weren't overdue or something like that.
Well, we didn't draw from any funds. You have to remember that. The Growth and Financial Security Fund remains the same. We had allocated $50 million more for highways, and that's the reason, because there was a public demand for more monies to be spent in highways. But when I look at the balancing of it, the Crown corporations and the dividend transfer has been there all along. We could have, at last year's budget, given ourselves a far bigger cushion and said, well, we're going to estimate $270 million worth of dividend to be transferred. We didn't do that because we said we wanted to work within a balanced budget, and we didn't require those funds. As a result of the province growing and the Crown's producing a greater profit, we have been able to meet a challenge. And you have to remember, the challenge is $110 million of additional spending in government relations to deal with the Provincial Disaster Assistance Program. That's a huge amount of money to meet the challenges of those people who faced the flooding and all of those expenses. We've also had to meet the challenge of additional dollars for education in the pension benefit. That's over $50 million. So, and then when you look at those three main ministries, agriculture and being the third one, where agriculture has received over $40 million more to reflect the Agri-Stability Program of 2011. That's well over $200 million worth of additional pressures on those ministries, and we've been able to meet that challenge with a growing province, province that is growing on the tax side and continues to grow on the Crown side as well.
But if we're talking about Crown challenges, you also have nearly $1 billion in increased Crown debt. So, I mean, is there not...
Well, the Crown forecast for what they were going to borrow has not changed as a result of the dividend transfer. The Crowns remain on target. In fact, their projections at budget was to borrow a little bit more than what we are now announcing. The actual amount that the Crowns have borrowed in the course of the year is less than what they had projected at budget.
But is that still a sustainable amount?
Absolutely. As I indicated to you, the Crowns fall within a range. They do a debt-to-equity ratio. That's a business decision. Those ratios are solid. They're reviewed by the agencies that do the bond rating in the province of Saskatchewan. And as you have noted in the last few years, those agencies have looked at those ratios and said they're very strong. And as a result, we have a AAA rating in Saskatchewan. So I think that's a great situation.
Why are expenses up in justice if crime's down?
Well, there's greater utilization. The Minister of Justice can give you the very specifics, but you know we've had to meet the challenge in different areas of the province, and they're small amounts. There's nothing significant, but in all cases, a growing province also means greater challenges.